A property investment scheme that sold thousands of houses and units around the country is being accused of misleading conduct and fraud. A retired couple driven to the verge of bankruptcy is suing the group known as the Investors Club, claiming loan documents were falsified and their debt spiralled out of control. A 7:30 investigation has found the couple are not the only ones who say they've lost their life savings. Here's Consumer Affairs reporter Amy Bainbridge.
This is my little dungeon in here. I only come in on Tuesdays. We do our own magazine, which I'll give you a copy. It's the archives. They're the 7 pillars of honesty that we follow. I'll give you this to you. Wayne up again there controls all the brokers. This is David and Emily who control all the stock coming through. I'm running out of time, I know.
Kevin Young is one of the richest men in Queensland.
This is really the foundation of the Investors Club. As far as I know, it's the only wealth creation book in the world that is game to have examples of people who have followed that strategy. With some 180 properties in his investment portfolio, he's at the helm of a scheme that claims to help everyday Australians fund their retirement. The proof in that is that we've been going 20 years and we've created more wealthy people than everyone else combined. In 1974, I was able to retire at 27 years of age. Since Young set up the Investors Club, more than 20,000 members in all corners of Australia have bought in. The club offers a one-stop shop, taking care of research, loans and legal advice, all promoted through seminars.
So you're not a spruiker, can I just, you want to, obviously you run seminars and you have people running seminars, and traditionally that's what a marketeer or a spruiker is, but you're saying you're not. Definitely, I'm an educationalist and my reputation's out there to be looked at. What these are meant for?
Yeah, so these are for the back of the...
These blocks here are all for this big wall at the back.
Yeah, that's right.
But Tony McNally and Marie Matthews say the club has been a disaster for them. The unfinished renovations at their family home on the New South Wales Central Coast are evidence of just how tough their circumstances have become.
We had a small mortgage here on the house. We owned the factory outright and all our equipment, everything. We had no debts, and then we had savings.
In 2006, Marie heard about the Investors Club and attended a seminar at the local golf club.
They had a big screen and they showed us different properties and what the properties were doing.
The concept was attractive: borrow against their home and business and use that money to buy properties to fund their retirement. All they needed to do was to give their financial information to the club, sign some blank forms for a broker, and the experts would take care of the rest.
Did you ever consider getting your own independent legal advice?
They had all that covered. We trusted them completely.
Alone, or is this something
In less than 3 years, the couple, who together cleared $50,000 a year from their smash repair business, bought 4 properties in Cairns, Darwin and 2 in southeast Queensland. Before long, the loan repayments became too much.
I've asked them, why is it like this, and they were saying the properties are already going, you've got equity in the properties. Everything's all right.
You have the banks on their backs, you need to pay this, you need to pay this, and you've got the body corporate fees. And, it all came to a crunch in 2012 where they were just saying we cannot cope with this anymore.
This is Cairns 1. This is the first property we bought in the valley.
At crisis point, they sought help from consumer advisors who told them to get copies of their loan applications from the banks.
First of all, I thought that they weren't ours, because the income was all exaggerated and we thought we got the wrong, but it was ours like that. And it was true that they falsified the documents. We gave them our financials, and we thought we were getting the loans on our financials, but they've doctored the paperwork.
To Tony and Marie's horror, they discovered by the time they bought their 4th property on the Sunshine Coast, again signing blank paperwork, their gross incomes had been listed as $150,000 each, 6 times their taxable incomes for the previous financial year. They say their assets were also overstated. It's left them saddled with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
The amount of, emotional crisis that they've gone through, like they've been suicidal, they've been embarrassed that they got sucked into this scheme. They've been guilty, ashamed. You know, it's been devastating to watch that.
Tony and Marie are suing the Investors Club, its local branch manager and a mortgage broker who arranged their loans. They haven't yet filed a defence. Kevin Young wouldn't discuss the case.
What about if incorrect information is put on somebody's loan forms, that they were told and heavily advised to sign blank forms and TIC would take care of the rest, and mortgage brokers then went in and inflated incomes and savings? Is that the kind of practice that you condone here at TIC?
Well, that's got to be a lie, because TIC do nothing with loan applications whatsoever. We're not licensed to handle loan applications. We don't see loan applications. People go off and we encourage them to go to brokers.
During our interview, Kevin Young was accompanied by Wendy Priestley, who heads up the club's elite group, the Property Millionaires Club.
Well, this is the results of the Financial Ombudsman Service for one of the cases, which has found that there was maladministration for a loan.
I think Mrs. Need, that's under our lawyers have said we can't talk about that.
Yeah, I talked about that one.
Yeah, so we can't.
So you can't talk about. Okay, well that's an example. You don't have to look at that if you don't want to. However,
but again, as I said,
we can't talk about anything to do with the case.
But this isn't just the case that's before the court. So there's 4 other people I've spoken to as well that aren't before the court.
I don't see finance applications. Nowhere up there did you see a finance application.
You said up there, sitting in the office, there was a person who oversees mortgages and has a go-between with mortgage brokers around the country every day. So how can things like this slip through the cracks?
He doesn't see the applications. What he does, he sees the advice that they give. And with 20,000 properties out there, the advice has been spot on.
Tony and Marie have had to sell one property along with their business of 20 years to stave off the banks.
Why are we so successful? Why are we so unique? The difference is that we focus on you, the consumer.
Last year, the Investors Club changed its name to the Property Club. It makes money from commissions by charging sellers 5% of the sale price and entices buyers with attractive projections about rental returns.
This is promotional stuff that we had from when they came over. And
730 has learned some properties have dramatically lost value and high rental incomes weren't achieved. This group of investors from Western Australia all bought into the club-promoted development called Kirribilli Heights in southeast Queensland in 2007.
The researchers at the time promoted this as being probably the icing on the cake. They were expensive, but they were upmarket units. They were in a really good location. They were just off the Gold Coast.
The units were said to be worth around $1 million, but club members could buy them at a so-called discounted price of $600,000 to $800,000. But they haven't lived up to that hype. The development is now the subject of a complaint lodged with the Queensland Office of Fair Trading that alleges investors were misled about the values of their properties.
I mean, if I sold it today, I would be somewhere close to $500,000 in the red. And there's no way of getting out of that.
Fellow investor Steve Ward says the Kirribilli Heights buyers have been financially crippled.
Properties are probably worth a third of their valued price now, and were never worth any more than about half their valued price.
He too alleges the figures on his loan forms were fudged by a different mortgage broker, exaggerating his savings and the value of his assets.
Our documents were changed or altered or added to in such a way that we were close to $350,000 overstated on the documents.
Tony McNally and Marie Matthews' case will be in the Supreme Court this week, where the law will determine where the fault lies.
I'm happy to say that I've created more millionaires than anyone else. I'm happy for them to look at that and check that out. I'm happy to say I've got more properties than anyone else. I'm happy for them to look at the list. Spruikers don't allow themselves to be examined.
What has it done to you as a family, this experience?
Let's put us into...
Destroyed us.
Yeah, ruined us. It's our whole life savings, 40 years of our working life gone. It's just incredible.
Amy Bainbridge with that report. He was one of the funniest entertainers alive, amusing and amazing audiences for 40 years.